On today's video, we're talking about the toy lines I should quit collecting, but I'm still buying them anyways.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to the toy lines I can't quit. Because I talk about the way that toy lines progress, and the way that the market shifts, and about what's worth it and what's not, as a reviewer and a retrospective guy. But sometimes I don't take my own advice. So we're going to be talking about the toy lines that I don't think should be worth collecting anymore, or, theoretically I should quit collecting for a lot of reasons, but I still keep doing it, which is also going to be very self-reflective, but maybe helpful for those out there. And we're specifically talking about toy lines that are still going. Like, I can't say I can quit collecting Figma, because I think Anna Koyama was the last Figma I got. They've just slowed down on Figma so much, and they're barely doing anything now with it, and more focusing on Nendoroid. So I can't say that, I should quit collecting Figma because of their high prices. There's, 2 a year I want now. So that's a little bit of a different, situation. We're going to be diving into a couple toy lines that you may have heard me complain about on the channel before, and you're probably wondering, why do you keep buying them? And that's going to be kind of what this is about. So it should be kind of interesting to take a look. I have 3 toy lines in particular planned out. One of them I think is a little bit more mixed than the other 2. The other 2 is why are you still doing this? And the third one, you're like, I get why you're still doing this. So let's talk about the toy lines I can't quit. So the first line we're going to talk about is Star Wars The Black Series, which is why we're doing the Mando shirt today. The reason why I put this as a line I should stop collecting is because I complain about it constantly. And I mean, you think I complain about Power Rangers a lot on the channel. 2 friends, I complain about Black Series a whole lot more. Even with all of Power Rangers QC problems, Black Series has the issue of, Lucasfilm licensing, meaning the prices are too high for what they are, the character selection's pretty crap, and there's a lot of baffling choices in terms of exclusives. So, why do I even keep buying them? Let's analyze that. Star Wars Black Series started in 2013, and I was there from the start. I went and got Toys R Us and bought Wave 1 as soon as it was available. I was on board with the idea of these larger 6-inch Star Wars figures, and I still am. The thing is, I liked the 3 3/4-inch line when I was younger, but the more that I've collected more 6-inch scale stuff, 6 inches is where it's at. And, I still got my Darth Maul from that first wave on the shelf. In 10 years of the Black Series, we went from a period of time where I was collecting every single figure as it started to starting to dwindle a little bit in the Force Awakens era when they started upping the output of them, to straight up wanting to drop the line, never wanting to look back, when they messed up 2 of my favorite characters. So this is the fun fact time. My favorite Jedi, Kit Fisto, and then my second favorite Jedi, Plo Koon. These are 2 of the worst Black Series figures I've ever experienced. This was a breaking point for me. This is absolutely when I went from, because I was every single figure to unique characters to, I'm just going to pick and choose, was because these 2. So first of all, problem number 1, they reuse lightsabers from the General Grievous figure, so they don't have the correct lightsaber hilts. That's a bad attention to detail for a 6-inch figure where the only accessory is the lightsaber, and it was 20 or 23 at that point. He should have had the proper lightsaber. Second of all, the coloring on Kit Fisto is just atrocious. It just doesn't even look right. He's got kind of this sort of slimy, weird off purple color as opposed to his normal green. Since it's supposed to be Revenge of the Sith one, it should be a lot greener. So the coloring's off. The body's a weird mismatch of reused parts, so it doesn't look accurate there, and he doesn't have a Jedi robe. And then you got Plo Koon, which I think the head on Plo Koon is fine, but then the lightsaber isn't done right, and then his Jedi robes are also kind of a weird mismatch, and then he's got this really, really bad, cloth robe where it's just, all straight cut and just looks really, really weird. And so, around this time was when the price increase started happening, and that's when I was like, okay, if they're screwing up my 2 favorite Jedi at their one shot at figures, which is true, we haven't seen these 2 since, I'm not sure if I want to keep going I got to get every single character. So I slowed down completely, immensely slowed down. Nowadays, the line is a low priority in buying. However, that doesn't mean I've quit. The thing is, when I look at the line, I'm like, okay, We swapped over to single jointed knees on a lot of figures. We swapped over to, simpler stylings. I think reuse sculpt between vintage and Black Series. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is that, like, Andor's first figure just came out, and it's been, like, almost a year since his show. And then on top of that, we don't know any more Andor figures besides the 4 that are out and 1 that's upcoming. Like, there's a whole lot more characters from Andor I want, but I have no idea when they're coming. They've not been pipelined. They've not been revealed or talked about. And it's just like, they didn't have them out when the show started, so now they're playing catch up. They're still working on Book of Boba Fett. I don't even have the Book of Boba Fett version I want because they haven't made it yet. They haven't, barely touched Mandalorian Season 3, like, very minorly touched it, like barely anything. And I don't know where in the production cycle this is. This could be a Lucasfilm thing because Hasbro stuff leaked for the sequel trilogy. Maybe Lucasfilm doesn't tell them until last minute, so they're stuck like putting things out like a year or so after the shows. But the incredible slowness is that it gets to a point where they're like, oh look, we finally made Cobb Vanth, like a year after he's debuted in the show. And I'm like, I don't care about him anymore. I probably would have bought him in the hype of the new stuff, but you take too long, I don't care anymore. So it has to be like characters that really stick, like the characters in Andor, because I really, really love Andor. So, I'm still collecting the Andor figures. But then there's other examples where there's things I want and have wanted, and then I get an inferior version of because of the tie-in thing. So, for example, the Grand Inquisitor, they made the Obi-Wan Kenobi version. I really wanted them to make a Rebels version because they already made all the Rebels crew, and they had Thrawn, and they were all based on the animated look. So I kind of wanted Mr. Tallhead Grand Inquisitor. And instead, I got Shorthead Grand Inquisitor with a cape that totally gets caught up in shoulder joints. And I don't know if you can tell, but I've completely ripped out this top part by accident, and I've not been able to stuff it and get it back in evenly since. It just looks really, really bad. And I'm like, if he didn't even have the cape, I wouldn't mind because he didn't have that in Rebels. But I know that we're not going to get a Rebels one at this point because this is our live-action Grand Inquisitor, and live-action takes priority in Star Wars lines. So that's a bummer. But then this freaking line has to come back and like do really good figures, like the Season 7 Siege of Mandalore Maul. Darth Maul is my favorite Star Wars character. It's, part of the reason why I was so on board from the beginning was because they gave me Maul up front. This Season 7 Maul is, like, beautiful. I'm like, oh, maybe Black Series can still be really good, even if it took, 2 or 3 years after the show to get it. And then there's the other problem of, there's some characters I want, and then they're exclusive to Walmart, and then they're never in store, and they're never in stock online, and then they're also, on top of that, $27.99 a piece instead of $24.99, and then I'm like, why are you more expensive? I don't get it. Recently, the Bad Batch Season 2 versions, all of the Troopers are Walmart exclusive, and then Omega is retail, which is just stupid. And I was going to buy all of the Season 2 versions because I couldn't complete Season 1 because Hunter and Crosshair, which we'll talk about this in a moment, Hunter and Crosshair were so underpacked. Their whole wave, was a blip. It showed up, it filled pre-orders, some pre-orders got canceled, and they never stocked it again. But then Hasbro put up pre-orders for reissues of Hunter, Crosshair, and 20 other figures, and then waited a whole year and then canceled all of them, probably because they were in the plastic packaging as opposed to the plastic-free packaging, and it wrecked, it wrecked an entire sector of small businesses selling toys. It killed, 3 stores, just that one move alone. So that's really annoying. And the other thing on top of that, on top of all that problem of oh my God, people lost their businesses, I also didn't have a Hunter. I had to go on eBay. I found one on eBay that was cheaper than me buying 3 of the new ones, because the new ones are going to be $28 a piece at Walmart, if Walmart even shipped my order. And I was like, I'm not taking this gamble. I will just spend extra for one figure, and I got Hunter. But the bummer part of that is the fact I had to spend extra on Hunter when he is a normal retail release figure. He is harder to get than some exclusives because that wave just evaporated and they did no restocking. And that is where Black Series becomes frustrating. And that is also where I just kind of take a casual route to Black Series. I went crazy for Hunter. I had to finish my team. But the thing is that there's certain characters where it's oh, hey, Commander Jesse's Walmart. And I'm just nope, I'm just going to skip him. I would have bought him if he was retail, but I'm just going to skip him. And, there's so many different versions of The Mandalorian, and there's so many different things here and there where I'm Do I even need it? Do I want it? You know, should I get Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis? I probably need Wicket, but why is, you know, an Ewok $25? You know, do I need a Chewbacca in chains to go with my Jabba the Hutt diorama? That is all kind of things that I just keep flip-flopping on because I can't really decide, because I think the figures are still good, but the way that they're released, the prices they're released at, and then also just in general, the character selection overall. Like, when was the last time we got somebody from the sequel trilogy? It was Dark Vision Rey. Like, you know, figures got better faces, but yet I can't get a Poe Dameron that looks like Oscar Isaac. So the thing is, like, it's kind of this frustration that I have where it's like they're so focused on the Disney Plus shows, but then they're always behind so massively that you never feel like anything's fresh. And it's like by the time it comes out, it doesn't even feel fresh. Here's a good example. Kiadi Mundi was announced back in like April of 2023 and isn't announced for a release until spring of 2024. Like, okay, why are you showing it a whole year in advance? Like, that's going to make me forget about that figure because I already keep forgetting he's coming out, even though I want him because I'm collecting the Jedi. And then general, that's kind of how I work. I'm like, I want Jedi, I want Inquisitors, you know, I had to finish teams like the Bad Batch, I want characters from Andor, you know, so I'm trying to finish up these little subgroups, but man, it just takes forever. Yeah, and then on top of that with Black Series, if you want a visual of how my enthusiasm has been for the line, so this is a perfect visual for how Black Series has not gone well for me. I had all these nicely displayed up here, you know, above a bookshelf, looking all great. They have fallen, they have collapsed, figures have just moved, and I have not bothered to get up on the ladder and fix any of this. I should, you know, because I have new figures to add, and I should rearrange this. But my enthusiasm's low, so why am I still collecting the line? So I don't really know why I'm still collecting Black Series outside of just wanting to finish out these subgroups, which I know will never end. You know, there's no end to Jedi. Like, we're never going to get all of them, and I'm always going to be buying something. And then there's going to be the new characters that pop up that I do want figures of. So, yeah, I'm not going to quit Black Series completely cold turkey, but I definitely have reduced what I'm buying, and in general, just kind of keeping it really kind of tight to a few groups of figures. Speaking of frustrating and groups of figures, Power Rangers Lightning Collection, anyone? All right, so the second line we're talking about is the Lightning Collection, which, you know, I think I've covered it extensively on the channel, which is why I don't really need to talk about it here as much. The QC's been bad. Joint problems, missing accessories, duplicate accessories, figures whose legs aren't even attached when you get them out of the package. This is my bag of Lightning Collection figures I need to fix, because Hasbro wouldn't just replace them without me having to go through a refund process, which would have left me without any figures, and especially at the sale price I got them at. Yeah, so here's the thing. I've covered this. I did a whole video about my Hasbro customer service experience, where I was like, okay, why is it going to take 3 to 6 weeks for a refund? And then, you know, I bought them on sale, so the refund wasn't going to get me, you know, the same figures at the same price. They couldn't just replace them. Whole video on that. I have a whole new subset of YouTube shorts called Lightning Collection Lottery to see, you know, when I get new figures, if they're going to have everything, which people seem to enjoy, and they're kind of fun to make. So why am I still buying a line that has probably the worst quality control that I've ever seen for a mass retail toy line? Because I want to finish teams. I know it sounds silly, but, you know, I want to finish Dino Thunder and SPD, and I want to finish Dino Charge, and I want to finish, you know, maybe I'll finish Wild Force. I want to finish Lost Galaxy and Turbo. Like, I started collecting these Power Rangers teams, and I want to finish them. The unfortunate part is how much hassle is it going to be to finish them, which is also why I'm not finishing every team I started. Time Force Blue was a disaster, so I don't really feel like getting anything beyond Red at this point. Dino Fury Red, I got him, but I don't really feel like buying Blue or Green. I don't like Dino Fury that much, so, you know, maybe I don't need that team. I might finish Wild Force. Let's see how the third figure turns out in that team. And in general, it's like, okay, I'm going to finish teams I like. Dino Thunder, SPD, Dino Charge, Lost Galaxy, Turbo, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, Lightning Collection, I guess is going to be a shorter segment because I don't really have much to say besides what I've said already. But the quality control is bad. The character selection is really weird. Like, why is it taking us 5 years and we're still not done with Beast Morphers? That's a 5-person team. We still can't get Silver. The accessories are just all over the place. I covered this in the Lightning Rundown. Like, sometimes a character has an accessory that matches with a teammate, and sometimes it doesn't. Why does Lost Galaxy Yellow not have her Quasar Saber? You know, I kind of feel like at this point I'm repeating the usual beats. But if you're not a Lightning Collection collector, The reason why, I guess, you're tuning into this without being a Power Rangers collector. That's fine. You're probably happier. But the thing is, like, this line is frustrating because lack of consistent paint, lack of consistent accessories, lack of logical character selection that finishes a team in anywhere less than 3 years, and in general, quality control that makes you scratch your head how anyone even looked at this, and the answer is probably nobody looked at it on its way out the factory. So in general, Lightning Collection, buyer beware, risk at your own risk. I still want to collect villains, I still want to finish up some teams, but I'm not going to start any teams at this point. Like, the quality control has to go from, like, pretty garbage to decently good before I want to start another team. Like, it's nice that we're doing RPM and light speed. I can't be bothered. So the last line I can't quit is SH Figuarts. Let's talk about the problems with SH Figuarts. First of all, price. They are expensive. Second of all, Premium Bandai. Actually, no, that's the first thing. Premium Bandai has ruined the Figuarts collecting experience. If you are outside Japan, you have a limited access to Premium Bandai. You either have no Premium Bandai, or your Premium Bandai US site only gets the current writer shows stuff and maybe some of the side material. Premium Bandai ruins this experience for a lot of reasons, because when you're collecting Figuarts, 90% of what comes out is P-Bandai, unless you're a popular anime franchise. So let's kind of break this down, because I think that, yeah, I'm not going to stop buying Figuarts anytime soon, but I am still going to point out the problems with them. So first things first, Kamen Rider. Let's start there. Kamen Rider Geats, great figure. Magnum Boost here is awesome. But the thing is that, like, I know that this is just a trap, right? Like, they're like, oh, hey, here, have Magnum Boost Geats. He's only like $35 at retail. Take him, have fun. Oh, by the way, you want Buffa? P-Bandai. You want Tycoon? P-Bandai. Nago? P-Bandai. Glare? P-Bandai. Punk Jack? P-Bandai. Come over to P-Bandai. Give us your money up front for a figure and see it in 6 to 7 months. It's all on P-Bandai. And here's the thing. Before, I would go, okay, I'm going my main writer, thanks. But now they're like, hey, we got P-Bandai US. You want your Buffa? You want your Buffa? You can get it cheaper here than a middleman. And then I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm buying a Buffa. And then a Tycoon, and then a Nago, and I haven't ordered Punk Jack yet, but it's happening. The point is that the trap here is that they give you a really good figure, and they're like, hey, the other figures are just as good, but you're going to have to pay more for them. You're going to have to get them from P-Bandai. It's kind of like a mob boss, like, luring you into a deal. It doesn't feel good. Why do I keep doing it? And this is the thing. I'm part of the problem. I can't really say, like, oh, Bandai should give up P-Bandai when I still buy things from P-Bandai. So, it's kind of like a weird, like, sort of catch-22. It's like, I could say P-Bandai should, get minimized to where, choices make sense. Like, maybe the main 4 writers from your current show should all be retail, and then everybody after that, P-Bandai. The thing is that, like, by buying it from P-Bandai, I'm still supporting it. Because at the end of the day, yes, I want my Geats, my Tycoon, my Nago, my Buffa, my Punk Jack, my Glare. Like, I do want all the characters, and it's like, ultimately, at the end of the day, what is the difference between buying this and a P-Bandai figure? And it usually comes down to price, because the thing is, retail Figuarts are hard to get. If they get a US release, like Geats got a US release, much easier to get. But if there is something like SH Figuarts Indiana Jones only coming out in Japan, his pre-orders are going to be available for a limited window. And so the thing is, essentially, like, if I'm not on it, there's a chance that it sells out within a minute. And thing about P-Bandai is that you got like a month or so to order it. This is hard to say. See, the thing is that, like, P-Bandai has sort of ruined the experience, right? Like, Figuarts, while still expensive, used to be more affordable. Like, you could pick up multiple characters from a show at retail. Now, most of them are P-Bandai. But, and the alternative, the retail ones are so hard to get, they sell out within, 60 seconds or less. I remember when I got Geats, he was gone, like, so quick. And they restocked him later. But, the initial stocking, I was like, he gone. I'm glad I got him. But the thing is that it kind of becomes stressful. Thing is, like, the P-Bandai thing is weird because it's more expensive, it's more exploitative, there's too many of them, they pop up at times you're not expecting. That's why I don't have Punk Jack ordered yet. They show up and they're like, boom, give us your money. Like, we want $100, give us a figure, But it's less stressful in the sense that I have time to figure it out. Like right now I know that Punk Jack's going to be available for a little bit, so I can order him, you know, when I have money. Whereas with like Geats, I don't pay for them up front. I had to order them within that like 60-second window. And then the US releases have helped, but then if you're in the UK, you're pretty much screwed. Because I don't think they even have UK releases as much. So yeah, it's kind of hard to collect Figuarts. But in a lot of ways, because I've been doing Figuarts since 2010, I'm used to it I'm probably too used to it, honestly. And so the thing is, I know the formula. I know how to track things on HLJ or Ami. I know how to get the P-Bandai stuff if it's not on P-Bandai US. And that puts me in a weird spot, because I'm like, I hate how much stuff is P-Bandai, yet I still keep buying P-Bandai. I definitely would be buying more Figuarts if more of them were retail. And especially if they're more distributed, like US releases, because, you know, then I could space it out. And a good example of this, I don't buy every Geats Figuart. Like, I'm skipping the Fever form. I buy every Naruto Figuart, though, because so far all the new Naruto Figuarts have been retail. I don't even know Obito Uchiha, but yet I still have him on order because I know I'm going to know him eventually. And because he's not P-Bandai, I don't have to pay for him up front, which helps me plan out, you know, budgets and money. The thing is that with all of the Naruto Figuarts being retail so far, with a couple event exclusives that are redos of older molds, kind of makes me just like, oh, hey, I'll just collect everybody at this point. And that's what I've been doing. You know, Kakashi's great, and they're good figures, so why not keep going? You know, that's the kind of thing that I think works out. And then there's things like the Digimon Figuarts. You know, I don't want to pull her out here, but there's an Anjouamon Figuart. Well, when was the last time you got an Anjouamon figure? It was a Digivolving figure, and before that, who knows when. So Digimon Figuarts are great because they're providing things that don't exist normally, and then they're P-Bandai in Japan, but then they're retail in the US, so that, you know, helps out. But then comes the problem with P-Bandai, and then Figuarts in general. Like, here's an example of a weird one, all right? Kamen Rider Agito Ground Form came out 7 years ago. And we finally got our second Agito Figuart with Agito Trinity. And I don't know why he wasn't Storm or Flame or Shining or Burning or Gills or G3. Like, why is it we waited 7 years and then Trinity's the one we get? I love the figure because I do love Agito, but Trinity's a form that was used, I think, like 5 times total, like in the whole franchise. Sure, it's iconic with the 2 different weapons and the 2 different arm colors. But the thing I ask is, why didn't this get upgraded? Because we started to see Figuarts like Ultraman Regulos, who has alternate arm parts to do different forms. Why is this not swappable chest plates and swappable arms to do Flame, Storm, and Trinity in one figure? And that's where I think like it gets a little frustrating. And then the other times it's really frustrating is when you get something like Kamen Rider Black Sun, where Black Sun was retail. Shadow Moon was P-Bandai. The human forms are P-Bandai. The bike is P-Bandai, and the bike comes with his final form parts from the final episode, and the bike wasn't distributed on P-Bandai US, so the final form parts are not available to US customers through P-Bandai US. So it kind of is like, all right, thanks for giving us most of it, but you kind of missed an essential part. Shin Kamen Rider is the same way. Shin Kamen Rider 1, retail. Everything else P-Bandai. And yeah, that's also really frustrating. Adding to that, while they've gotten better, I'm still mad about this. I have Ultraman Taiga from Ultraman Taiga. Taiga with his beam effect I had to get with Trey Gear. And I have Fuma, who was P-Bandai. I don't have Titus, because for some reason Fuma was released in a good stock of numbers. You can find him on the aftermarket. Titus is super rare and super expensive because I think he's more popular, but he sold out in P-Bandai pre-orders, which doesn't usually happen in Japan. They usually just close the pre-orders at a certain date. They don't really sell out. Titus sold out, and unlike other Figuarts that have sold out, he didn't get a second run or a third run. There wasn't enough for demand. And then when they went to put a poll for like who's going to get reissued, Trey Gear won the poll to go with, you know, Taiga and Fuma, but Titus wasn't even on the poll. So I'm still sitting here with 2 out of 3 members of the Tri-Squad. But then Figuarts have gotten better in a weird way. So as Ultraman continues to dominate the world, which rightfully so, it's doing all the things correctly, there is some weirdness with the Figuarts. We're starting to see, you know, with Kamen Rider Figuarts, you get the retail ones are pretty much just what's current, and then older stuff that's redone in the Shinkocho Seiho style, which is more expensive, fancier figures. Then with Ultraman, it's typically you get the heroes at retail, and then the villains are P-Bandai. Well, then Absolute Tartarus rocked up to being a retail release, even though he is like big bad evil villain guy. He's also a current villain. Really weird. Freaked me out a little bit when they announced he was regular retail. Happy for it, because he definitely was less expensive than a P-Bandai release, especially because the P-Bandai Ultraman Figuarts currently aren't available in P-Bandai US. Please fix that. And then also please open a P-Bandai UK, my god. But the thing is that Absolute Tartarus freaked me out when he was retail. And then Absolute Diavolo, his compatriot, of course, was P-Bandai, which wasn't too surprising because I was surprised he was retail. But then on the opposite end, you have Ultraman Regulos, who is a new character from the Ultra Galaxy fights and now has his own spin-off show. His figure art released the month the show came out, but it was P-Bandai. This felt backwards. It felt like someone at Bandai wrote, retail on this guy and P-Bandai on this guy by accident. Regulos does feature arm-swapping gimmicks and is probably more intricate engineering-wise, so it could make sense that he was P-Bandai while Tartarus is more straightforward, but Tartarus has a cloth skirt thing going on. So, or a plastic skirt that looks cloth. It's really strange. And then there's the problem with the Ultraman Figuarts, and this is a big sticking point for me. The Shinkocho Seiho Ultraman Figuarts. These are the fancier, nicer Figuarts. They're Shinkocho Seiho. They pretty much only do them for like Rider and Ultraman. Thing is that Dyna, much like Tiga, has soft parts used on the chest. Now, my Tiga is degrading. Like, his plastic is oxidizing. His torso is just not going to exist one day. I haven't opened Dyna yet to check and see if he's a similar material or a sturdier one. But then, to throw us off, Ultraman Mabius is a normal retail Figuart made entirely of plastic. Can we just do that? I don't want this, like, rubber stuff. Like, don't do Dyna in the rubber. Just do this. I like this. This is great. More of this. Also, retail is good. So the thing is that it's really strange. We also were running a time with Ultraman where the kaiju were all P-Bandai regardless of who they were, and then now Ella King is retail. So we're starting to improve a little bit, I think, with the Ultraman line, and that helps with Ultraman, becoming bigger, more popular. So, should I quit collecting Figuarts? Maybe. They are a huge money sink. There are basically no options, though. With Naruto, yeah, there's other Naruto lines out there, but these are just the nicest ones, and they are pretty easy to get. With Kamen Rider, the candy toy lines are great, but lots of stickers. The model kits are great, but they only do main riders. With Ultraman, Ultra action figures are getting pretty good. I've ordered a couple of the kaiju to go with my Figuarts instead of getting the Figuart versions. But they don't have the accessories and the beam effects, so I kind of want that. I hope there's an alternative where I can just say I don't need Figuarts anymore, because the P-Bandai thing is predatory. It absolutely is. It's like, here's your main character, just like with Tartarus. It's like, oh, you want to collect the Absolutians? Here, take one at a lower price at retail, and then oh, what? Diavolo's P-Bandai? Oh, Teton's P-Bandai? Oh, our bad. Like, we know what you're doing. It's obvious. But like I said, I keep falling for it. I don't really fall for it. I'm explicitly aware that I'm walking into the trap, but I want my figures, so I get to the trap anyways. I guess that's kind of the point of the whole video, isn't it? So that's the toy lines I can't quit. I'm still going to be buying Black Series, even if I've slowed down a lot. Still going to buy Power Rangers, even if I slowed down a lot. Still going to buy Figuarts, even if I slowed down on Kamen Rider, but upped Ultraman. Weird times, I know. I definitely don't buy as many Rider Figuarts as I do Ultraman ones. But in general, this video was just going to talk about, like, okay, we complain about P-Bandai. We complain about Hasbro exclusives, character selection, accessory stuff. We still buy them anyways, in a lot of cases. Now, there are some people that have completely dropped Black Series, completely dropped Lightning, completely dropped Figuarts. I congratulate you. For me, there's definitely still things I want from each of the lines, and over time, maybe like when Power Rangers finishes the teams I want and the QC doesn't, if the QC doesn't get better, I'll probably just be like, I'm done. I finished the teams I want, thanks. And then I just never touch one again. And Black Series, same way. Like, if there's a certain point where, I get all the characters I want, then I'm probably good. But with, Figuarts, that's going to keep trucking. Like, I don't think there's going to be a point where they make all the Ultraman Figuarts I want. There's still several I'm, looking for. Like, where's all the Nexus forms? But, maybe there will be an ending point to all this. But in the meantime, just tell me your stories, because it's fine. Like, the thing is, I guess it's also the video to go, like, if you're still buying Lightning Collection full stock, every single figure, more power to you. You know, I hope you get good QC on your figures. I hope that everything goes well. Same thing with Black Series. Like, if you are, you know, dedicated Star Wars Black Series, like, yeah, I'm gonna get every figure, more power to you. It's tricky. For me, I think part of the reason why I kind of cool down on some of the lines, I collect a lot of toy lines. Like, here's all my He-Man stuff. You know, I don't even collect all the current He-Man stuff. You know, there's all my Transformers and Ninja Turtles stuff. That's not even all my Transformers. I don't know why I'm saying all. That's not even all my Ninja Turtles. I collect a lot of lines. So for me, when a line is not feeling like it's worth it, it's kind of easy just to push it aside. But then when there's things like Ultraman Figuarts where I'm like, there's no better line for these. I would love for there to be a better line, but there isn't. So that's just what we do. So follow your passions, follow your heart, and let me know in the comments what lines you feel like you want to stop collecting but can't bring yourself to do so, or which lines you have stopped collecting and why. I'd love to hear from it. Also, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe notification bell for future videos on the channel. Please check out my live streams Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern if you like hearing me talk about toys, movies, shows, all kinds of cool stuff. We do a lot there every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, here on this YouTube channel. Also, find me on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as long as those are still applicable, at Soundout12. You can find my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at DarkClaw643, and you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for toy news and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.